All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for podcast number 61. Yes, we're going to take a trip down memory lane.
And this is the Twitch VOD.
So enjoy, guys.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
How are you doing on this fine Monday?
It's a Monday.
Yes, unless you're watching the VOD, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Indeed. But welcome. It's a good week.
Yes.
How's everyone doing so far? We got Lyria in here. Hey, Big Boss. He's ready for this.
Yep.
Ollie. Hey, how's it going?
Star Platinum.
Star Platinum. Hajimane de wande no monogatari. Crusaders. Pagey. Oh my gosh. Epo is here.
Yes.
Yes, it is. On early access, that is. So if you shameless Patreon plug, go check out early access if you want to see Hajime no Whip reactions right now. I just came off a crazy Ultimate Frisbee game, and I'm kind of jazzed still.
I am also jazzed for slightly different reasons.
Ooh, story time.
Yes, story time. So we're gonna get into all the podcast stuff.
But before that,
other shameless plug. So I finished draft 5 this morning, and there's lots of good stuff that I touched up and put
draft
in there.
5,
especially in the ending. I'm very proud. Yeah,
draft 5, guys.
So now we're officially into fact-checking mode, after which is the proofreading stuff, and then just like, you know, all the technical things of like getting the actual physical books and making sure they look good, and then getting them printed and shipped and all that stuff. So
yeah, all the
thank
PogChamps,
so much for
all the
your
PogChamps
support
in chat for Jacob right now. Draft 5, guys. Like, I understand draft 2. Nothing else beyond that. Like, draft 5, that's where you are going in depth, like, for this. So
and I gotta say, like again, encouragement to any other writers out there, your first draft's gonna suck. Don't worry about it. But when you get to like draft 3, draft 5, then it's like, okay,
alright,
this is good stuff.
I'm gonna make sure more details and stuff.
So, that's a win. And then there was something else, but I'll tell you guys about that later.
Yeah. I think I know what the other thing is. That just happened a couple minutes ago.
Yep,
like 20 minutes ago.
Indeed. It was a very important phone call.
All right,
with someone awesome.
Cool.
With someone awesome, and so.
All right, so Vray, comeback of the Mod King. Hey, my first live podcast, Jad the Mad. Welcome, glad to have you here. Just first thing, we are still figuring out how Twitch works, but we got Twitch Partner. I'm going to be in talks with some people very soon to get subscriber emotes, like the badges for like how long you've been a subscriber and stuff. And just letting you know, being a subscriber gets you access to our Discord, which is usually a Patreon exclusive thing, so that's pretty cool.
We should add
whole kinds of stuff going on.
We should add chill music at the starting soon screen. So
yes, well, yeah. Well, let's do it. We want to talk. Let's save that. We'll save that. Yeah. But we will get all the fun presentation things onto the Twitch. Kind of, I would say, figured out by the end of the year. But I would say don't hold your breath for anything kind of big production wise. Maybe in most areas, let's just say. But yes. Did you read all the comments about what you guys said about Wealth in last Hunter x Hunter episode? Yes.
The mods passed on.
Yes, mods passed on like a huge amount.
Worth reading.
Yeah. Hold on. They sent us a lot of stuff, and we understand where a lot of you are coming from. So yeah, we totally hear you. But crispy fireman.
No, actually,
no, not
something different.
Not that one there.
Yeah.
But. First things first, we got to give our shout out to one of our VIP patrons, Sarah Graham. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you're on the Discord.
Right. But if you're not, you should get on there. It's pretty great.
Because you got your own like channel and stuff there, and we get to chill and hang out with you. But yeah, thank you so much for your support, and we are grateful to have you as part of the SOS family.
Yes.
So, we're going to be talking about kind of general stuff that we usually do on this podcast. A lot of anime, a lot of stories.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of, I would say, things that have stuck with us over the years and kind of shaped our beginnings when it comes to stories and influences and stuff.
As far as anime go, like we are definitely passionate hardcore fans, but compared to a lot of anime fans out there, we got in kind of late.
Oh, really late.
I mean, what, Bleach was like
2009.
Yeah, that was when I was like 16.
Yeah, and I was 18.
You were 18. Wait, you were 18?
2009?
Oh.
Yeah, you were not.
Oh,
yeah,
maybe I wasn't 16. No, so I was 14.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's about right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But the point is, it was a while ago. So, and there was stuff before that.
There was stuff before that I think that was really important for us to be not only ready for, anime as a whole, but also, I would say, for us to be even ready for this channel. Because when it comes to the channel and doing these discussions, doing these reactions, and kind of interacting with you guys, but also kind of sharing our emotional, like, highs, lows, and everything with these shows, it's something that I don't think we would have been able to do if it wasn't for a lot of other things that came before this. Because when it comes down to it, I would say Jacob and I 10 years ago weren't very in tune with our emotions with regards to expression, and I think maybe a lot of you will be able to relate. It's like this thing that you have, but it's so chaotic and messy and just weird.
Pubertizing.
Yeah, essentially.
Just all that stuff you have to deal with, and
So essentially, if we were to, watch an anime that was over the top and had all this bombastic stuff, say something like Gurren Lagann, we might not know how to handle it because, just at least emotionally, I hadn't really been. I wasn't open enough for something like that. Probably
Yoko's costume aside.
No, Yoko's costume, I would have been like, yeah. But specifically with how, in a lot of ways, the energy of anime and a lot of the emotional, just like hard-hitting stuff. Like we are going through Violet Evergarden right now.
Yeah,
we're going through Hunter x Hunter right now. You guys have a doozy of a reaction coming for tomorrow with Hunter x Hunter.
But that does not exist yet.
It doesn't exist yet.
Yeah,
but all this emotion and stuff. At least I would say, you get to look back on it with hindsight and realize that all that stuff prepared you emotionally for. And in our opinion, just stories that have really changed our lives since then in anime.
Yeah, like for instance, A Silent Voice, right? Or Wolf Children.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, do I wish that I had been able to see those earlier and that they existed, before just, fairly recently in the case of A Silent Voice? Absolutely.
Seriously.
But would I have been able to appreciate them as much back then? I don't know, maybe not. So, yeah. One of my personal favorites. And this is, I mean, for both of us, like this is like one of the oldest ones that we got into. It really helped develop a love of reading in us. But Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. Yeah, those books, and I don't really read them anymore. Like I would reread them a bunch. It
was a good children's story book that got us into the whole idea of imagining other worlds and other. I would say just the idea of fantasy in general. I read them when I was probably 7 years old. So maybe 8. Yeah, maybe 7 and 8. Because I don't think I was a fast reader at 7. So I think it was more like the thing, thing.
And the fact that like, I mean, talk about like description or like, like vivid imagery or something. No. It kept everything very simple, but it was fantastic. Like, one of the lines, I think it was in the dedication. I don't know if it was for Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe or The Magician's Nephew, but it was Lewis talking to either his like younger relatives, right? Younger generation, and he was saying, "I hope that I dedicate these to you in hopes that one day you'll be young enough for fairy tales." Yeah, and that
Yeah, because at the time when when you're that age and stuff, you're like, oh, we'll watch the Disney movies. We'll watch, all those like kind of kid-friendly kind of things that will kind of show you a gamut of what, human emotion can be and stuff.
Right, and, with the level that you're at that point in life.
Right, but books allow you to interpret things for yourself.
They get the imagination going like crazy.
Yeah, and I remember multiple points in many different stories where characters would either die or characters would leave the story or characters would essentially go through these development arcs, and I would be enraptured with the idea that this like huge emotional like climax would happen for a character, and I'd just be like, oh whoa, like this is touching me, and I don't know, it's
when
something special.
In the last battle, when I got to see Reepicheep again, that was the first time I ever cried reading a book.
Oh,
but I cried. You know, I was 8 years old, lying on my parents' bed, and I was crying. Like
I'm Redmond. Thank you so much for the follow. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was definitely my first time crying, and then from there it was like, okay, that this is something that like stories can do, and that's fine, you know.
Yeah.
I was totally okay with it.
Yeah, I don't think I cried in Narnia. Mine was later with Where the Red Fern Grows, which is probably not a book that you should read when you're like 9 years old or something, because I think Where the Red Fern Grows was probably around 9 to 10 years old, and I would say it's a story about a kid and dogs, and you know, it's an old book, but so I won't spoil it, but I mean, but it has a very very emotional ending, and it's a fantastic book.
Oh yeah.
So when I ended up, you know, experiencing this as a book and stuff, I read it very slowly and got very invested into the character. And at the time, like, you know, I didn't realize that, you know, the main character was so much of kind of an everybody self-insert for the audience to go to. But it worked so well. So I'm not coming at this from any critical eye or whatever. But the way that a story could transport you out of your current situation was so powerful. I think that in a lot of ways, most people will start getting into stories for one of two reasons. This is a very simplified way of looking at it, but they either go to it to stoke the imagination, because their imagination is basically taking a hold of them so much that they have to find some way to calm it down, or maybe like focus it in some way. And some people will create stuff, and then other people will enjoy things that stimulate it. The imagination, but the other people will use it, and I think it was me, will use it as an escape to kind of get away from the mundane. Right. And I had a pretty kind of boring childhood for the most part, and had a lot of other things with dealing with essentially a new kind of family that was thrust upon me with the foster brothers and stuff. So books were a really good way for me to relax and get away from that. And Where the Red Fern Grows was my first book where I cried. But I just remember like trying to keep the book away from the dropping, you know, just away from the tears. Yeah. So I would like have something to wipe the tears away, and then bring the book back down here. But highly recommend the book. But I think back on that, and I know there would have been something eventually, but I feel like the ability to express that emotion freely and without shame during like the YouTube stuff and everything, I can trace that back to reading Where the Red Fern Grows. So,
yeah, one of my favorite things that like, because I know I read it at some point, but I think I had already like seen the movie, you know, so it was more of like, oh yeah, I'm reading the book, you know, that the movie was adapted from. But one of my things that whenever I think back on it, I love is how they show him working to get the dogs. Yeah. You know, like that was just one of those things where it's like, oh man, because we never had a dog, and we always wanted a dog as kids, you know, but we didn't like have a place with a yard that was like big enough to really deserve having a dog. And that part always got me. Yeah.
And this, to segue with the whole dog thing pretty smoothly here, there was another Disney movie, and I have to mention Disney because in some ways I feel like a lot of kids in my kind of circle grew up on like specific Disney movies and stuff, and mine that I again feel like is well, I was way too young to even fully understand, but now with added context and life things, Fox and the Hound, even though it's not actually that great of a Disney film compared to all the others, I have a very like biased emotional connection to it because of the idea of life pulling you away from the people you love.
Yeah.
And that's just real life. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Because there was a pivotal point when I was around 13 or 14 where our family had to relocate. And it was a decent far enough away where I lost all my friends, and I had to, essentially try and rebuild social connections with people that I wasn't even really good at to begin with because they were mostly convenience friends, because they were close. And that one kept hitting me over and over again, just growing up and stuff. So, Fox and the Hound, that'll mess you up.
I remember, because one of the things that, like, when you think about Fox and the Hound and, like, other Disney movies, I remember as a kid, I didn't kind of want, like, I thought the idea of, like, watching a Disney movie was like, no, those are for girls. Those are about, like, princesses and stuff. And I need something manly.
Yeah, I need to be stoic and powerful.
And with the Fox and the Hound was great because it didn't do that. It was so normal, even though it had talking animals and everything,
right?
And one other memory that I hold very fondly is when me and one of the foster brothers, the oldest one, we went to go basically help our aunt and uncle move because they were in Portland, Oregon, and they were anyways, they were moving, and we went to go help them move for like a weekend, right? And because we weren't at the house anymore, we got to stay up kind of as late as we wanted, So we would do that, and they had a bunch of Disney movies that we didn't have, so we would just stay up super late watching them, and we would sort of like make fun of them, like, oh yeah, these totally aren't manly, but we would end up like be secretly enjoying them,
Right.
And that was, and I think that was the point where after that I just was like, I love Disney movies, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Kind of a thing.
Yeah, I don't care what anyone else thinks of me. And you're going to notice actually a trend here that both of these styles, that there's two styles of stories that we're going to be talking about, and it's primarily ones that either stimulated the imagination as to what's possible in storytelling, or opened up our emotions to be more real and stuff. Hey, RDWN6610 with the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Welcome. Make sure to get into the Discord via the subscriber room. There's a link in there, and it invite you there. So if anyone is curious about how to get in, that's how you do it as well.
Also, remember at the turn of the new month to like resub with Twitch Prime, because that you have to like do that every month, because it's something you can just do for free.
Don't think about anyone else. No, just exactly. No. Sub to your favorite Twitch channel.
Ramiz, yes, Balto. That movie. I watched that movie a lot.
Yeah, that was a traumatizing movie as a kid. But then you go back and you watch it as an adult, and you're like, this is garbage. I have so much nostalgia for Balto, but like, oh my gosh, it does not hold up over time. It doesn't.
But at one point when I was sick, and parents,
you watched it like 7 times,
5 times in a single day.
Yeah, I remember
because
that.
The parents were just like, you're sick, just sort of lie on the couch and whatever. Here's a bowl. Like, and I just watched that movie over and over again, and I loved it so much.
Trash O'Con, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so I have to go back to the fantasy stuff here. This one is kind of an obvious one that I feel like everyone should watch, but I feel like there's something about this series that turns people off to it being like, oh, it's more of an older, like you have to have some patience and some like stamina to be able to get through this. And that's Lord of the Rings. And specifically, the fact that Lord of the Rings came out when we were, or at least I was like 8 and like 10 and like 12 when Lord of the Rings' movies came out. It incentivizes us to get into the books because our dad was like, we want you to, be able to handle a big movie like that that's got a whole bunch of stuff going on. So how about I challenge you to be able to read the books, and once you've read a book for the corresponding movie, you can watch the movie. Because in another way, he was also like, the movies, there's no way the movies can be that good, with regards to comparing them to the books.
Which was very hypocritical because he had never actually read the books.
Yeah, he was making us do something he wasn't willing to do.
Those books are too dry and stuff. So,
but then we ended up getting it. We ended up getting him like 5 years later and made him read all of them. So it all.
Oh, we actually got him to read all of them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lord of the Rings, watching it early, I think was actually huge for us to be able to get into anime.
Oh, yeah.
Because the whole idea of not only like, you know, magic and dark lords and wizards and fantasy lands and different like elves, dwarves and orcs and all this whole world stuff and everything. I think that in combination with early Star Wars stuff, but it was mainly Lord of the Rings for me that made me go, oh my God, like you can make anything.
Yep.
Because I hadn't seen anything where like elves were even a thing. I was like, I've heard of dwarves and Narnia and stuff right there, but it's like, wait, elves? Like they're like kind of angular humans with like pretty faces and kind of feminine features.
The
and
most
stuff.
I had heard about elves was like Santa's elves, you know.
Yeah.
And which is funny because even by the time we like read the books, you know, the movies were out and stuff, there were all kinds of other examples of elves that were ripping off Lord of the Rings.
Right.
It was cool to like actually see the more of the original source.
Right. And it almost felt like we were being like there was some aspect of poetry to it because when you read the books, you realize it's a linguist, you know, speaking through this stuff here.
Yeah.
So it comes across in a very like high level way. And that, I think, us being forced to, and not forced to, but being encouraged to read something so crazily intense at a lower age made us go, oh, there's nothing that's outside of our range of what's, you know, possible to read.
We can kind of read anything now. Like I would say 50% of my vocabulary at the time that I read the books came from the books. Like
you had to like learn new words as you encountered them in the books.
And then like just understand what they meant strictly by context and things. Like like it was kind of crazy, but it was really cool. And then afterwards, it's like, oh yeah, reading anything else? Oh yeah, that's a breeze. It's not Lord of the Rings, you know?
Right, exactly. And that whole period covered like 3 years of our lives, like maybe even 4 years. And like once that happened, we were already now like starting to write little things on our own time, little fun fan fictions and little like, AUs of different universes and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we got excited about it. And it was this, again, a fun escape and also a creative outlet for those things where it wasn't just like, oh, we want to be entertained and escape. But we also want to find some way to contribute something. But Jad the Mad, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime sub. Yes, if anyone's asking questions, I see there are questions about joining the Discord. As long as you are a Patreon supporter of any type, of any level or whatever, or you're a subscriber, you get access to it. The main thing, though, is that just make sure you sync up your account, be it Twitch or Patreon, with the Discord, right? Because then you'll get a fancy role essentially. But yeah,
Gabriel Braga. When I was a kid, I thought Lord of the Rings was a horror movie. I was scared of the monsters. Now I'm a Berserk fan. Like that was what it was for us a lot too, because we grew up in a very conservative sort of home. So one of the big things that was like, okay, we want to watch these Lord of the Rings movies, but it's like, these are PG-13 because they're scary stuff, and I was a little kid at the time. I was like,
you were like 8 or 9.
Yeah, I was 8. Wanted to watch Lord of the Rings, and it's like, whoa, no. The way, like, I get the feeling the whole reading the books thing was kind of the way that like Dad just sort of negotiated with Mom, like, it'll take them a while, and if they can handle the books, then they'll
bless
they'll be
our
okay.
mom. She was a little bit more of a stickler with regards to those things. Our dad was way more relaxed, and he was just like, let them go. Let them go.
Let little Rugrats do their thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was great. Moving back to kind of the book side of things, there were a couple that I would say weren't as influential as, say, like Lord of the Rings, for instance, but like the Redwall series is a very similar vibe of Narnia, with talking animals and stuff, but not as much of the allegorical stuff or anything like that. Good classic hero's journey stuff,
Yeah.
The whole Matthias little twist thing like blew my mind. I was like, I am that is, oh my gosh, it's Matthias. like those little things, and the idea that like in some ways like Harry Potter, there's this world going on like parallel to ours.
Right.
In some ways, I think that was the preparation for us getting into even like isekai or any kind of like, you know.
Well, I mean, you know, you could say that Narnia like was one of the first.
Yes, right? Yes. Narnia is practically an isekai.
Like when we would go and like get Christmas trees, right? You know, after reading Narnia, we absolutely would run through the trees, you know, and be like, "We're in Narnia." Like, oh yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. Check, knock on all the backs of all like the closets and everything.
Yeah. And then as we got a little bit older, we started getting into, I say, more kind of classical literature. And this was where I think we were comfortable enough with our feelings to be able to read like old school like romance stuff. And this is something that I feel like guys just will never do. And this is really sad nowadays because I feel like less and less people are reading, for one.
Oh yeah.
But even less and less guys specifically are reading, you know, like old school, like, you know, European literature with regards to like romance and stuff. And there's a lot of good stuff out there. And one of the ones that probably has stimulated a lot of the most discussion over the centuries, I would say, with regards to this was Pride and Prejudice, which isn't really you know, like who, you know, that's not a surprise. That's kind of a, oh yeah, I was forced to read that in high school kind of book. But no, I'm not saying that's why most people encountered Pride and Prejudice. But for us, it was kind of in a lot of ways our first kind of introduction to that whole genre. And
we'd read Lord of the Rings, so we were used to the whole idea of like the old British literature. By that point. And so the funny thing is that the reason this is kind of tied to, it's not just the book is the thing. Because the latest Pride and Prejudice came out in 2005. Now,
the movie.
Right. Now, our sister went to go see it with a bunch of her friends as like part of her birthday or something like that, right? And because of that, you know, indirectly, that was actually how I watched it for the first time. And I don't know about you, but that was the first movie for a long time. That was actually my favorite movie, and it was a lot of people thought that was so weird, but I loved the music. I would listen to it on, you know, like just the soundtrack on like a little, like, I think it was called a Rio, like some old crappy like iPod, you know, wannabe.
It was an amazing like directed movie, like not even like story withstanding, like or even acting, just like that is fantastic,
excellently put together. And that was the first time that I basically openly acknowledged, like, yes, I like this romance, you know, story. And then from there I found the book and I read it and I was like, yeah, this is good stuff.
So like I would say that, you know, we're kind of bouncing around here, but eventually, you know, over time there was basically a lot of changes going on in our lives and stuff. I ended up going to school in California for a couple of years. Jacob's back in Washington and stuff. And almost like simultaneously in different basically areas of the world, we both got introduced
to anime.
to not just anime, but like cartoons that weren't Disney. So like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, you got me into that one.
I got you into that one. Yeah. But like it was almost this like immediate snowball that just spiraled out of control.
Once it started, it just kept going.
Airbender was like really quick. Like barely 18 years old, I had completely missed the train of it, and the third season had just ended, and the DVDs were getting marketed and stuff, so people owned like the entire, you know, 3-book set. And I watched it all in probably about 5 or 6 days, like, you know, no social life or anything at school. I just kind of consumed media and passed that to Jacob. And within like months after that, we were getting into anime via Bleach for me, and what was it, Naruto for you? Yep. And then we passed along feedback on those kinds of things. And these are like, you know, entry-level mainstream anime that, you know, shonen, like everyone got into during that mid-2000s, late 2000s era.
But it was this incredible thing because we loved books, right? We always loved books. And and the thing was is that, I don't know about you, but for me, because Lord of the Rings and like Narnia were some of the first, I ended up getting kind of picky, right? Like I would read books and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is so good. Oh, okay, that is an ending, I suppose, you know. And then but there was this sense of wonder that they could be about anything, right? Yep. And that was how books always held such a special place in our hearts, even when we started like realizing that TV shows did exist and were a thing that could be done, you know. Yeah. To solve sort of the quantity problem of story that you could get.
Yeah, we even then we didn't have really that much interest in live action television because by getting into books so early, live action television just seemed so generic.
Yeah, like it had its place, and we would love it and stuff, but it still couldn't scratch that itch, right? Yeah. And then when we got introduced to like animation and that, hey, there's like lots of different stories that can be told. It doesn't just have to be Disney. It doesn't just have to be princess stories.
It doesn't have to be cop shows.
Right,
it doesn't have to be like, just, some mystery or whatever.
Even if it was something as simple as battle shonen, which is what we thought all anime was for a while.
Yeah.
But it was that idea that it's like, yeah, here's something, and other people seem to get this too, where you can literally, your imagination is the limit. You can do whatever you want. Like when we were watching Heroes, one of the things that we would get frustrated with a lot is we'd be like, okay, Sylar needs to do this. We need to have like this epic battle happen. But we knew kind of deep down, and this got revealed to us as the show went on, that it would never happen because they had budget constraints, right?
Yeah, they had a production issue.
Exactly.
They had all kinds of things that they couldn't do because they were in live action.
Right.
And then when we got introduced to this story about a kid who has a sword that allows him to use special powers and see spirits and stuff.
Exactly.
We're just like, wait, what?
Awesome.
What?
This is great, right? And that show still has a lot of nostalgia for me, even though I don't really like it anymore, you know?
Right.
But like
for me, it's like there's like 40 episodes, maybe, in a range that have nostalgia for me with Bleach.
Yeah.
But then it was like within about 6 months after Bleach, I was introduced to Death Note, and I completely dumped almost all like rewatching of Bleach or anything like that.
I mean, rewatching of Bleach, that's just,
Oh, but I did.
Oh, yeah?
Because
the thing is, right, you did.
The thing is that when you only have the one anime, you assume in a lot of ways it's the only anime that exists.
Right,
like,
exactly.
I didn't, like, you don't have fast internet or something where you're like, oh, I'm going to go and just find all the anime and stuff. I mean, we kind of did, but I was at school, so I didn't have good internet.
And we didn't even know where to look and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And my friend basically was just like, hey, here's a cool show. Watch it with me, and I would just kind of show up when he was watching it.
And then we would just sort of supplement it with a lot of AMVs.
Yep.
And we would watch AMVs over and over again and find new ones, and that was how we sort of kept it fresh and stuff.
Right.
But
then we got introduced to the fact that there were other
anime, and then it was this whole other thing, right? But like even with Bleach, because here's the other thing. Bleach, when I think about it, even though, like, I might say critically it had all sorts of problems and stuff like that, and I wouldn't recommend it to someone that's getting into anime if they haven't seen it, right? I would recommend something completely different.
Right.
But I'm really glad that I watched Bleach for a few different reasons. Like, the fact, like, Ichigo, as a character... but as a determinator, the whole idea of the determinator, that resonated with me a lot. And it's like, yes, is that a generic concept? Absolutely. But when I watched it, that was during the pubertizing stage, and it was like having something to hold on to, and like, yes, be true to yourself and all that stuff.
Totally.
And don't listen to what anyone else says. That was like food for my soul.
There's a reason why it's called shonen. It's marketed towards people that age,
Right. Yeah.
And that helps a lot. And I think that we just needed a world to get lost in. But there was a change, I think, when we realized that anime could do something where it could take a story and it would essentially take someone's vision that they drew out somewhere. And we heard of manga, but we didn't know really what it was, other than it's just like, oh, it's Japanese comics, basically. Right. But then they would take that and they would put it into the story, and because of that, the story would just fit. They wouldn't make it up as they go.
Right. We didn't have to worry about them recycling, like taking... to talk about Heroes again, we didn't have to worry about them taking a character, putting them in an arc, undoing that arc, taking them on a different arc, and basically just putting them on this arc loop like a hamster wheel.
Everything felt so consistent going through. That was my
sometimes too consistent.
Like
with
that was my feeling with Death Note. Like it just felt like they knew where they were going the whole time, and it was
even
awesome.
if we wished it had ended a little bit earlier. But you know, hey, but
yeah, then we got into like all kinds of other anime, like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and like that show alone, I would say, allowed me, because Jacob and I had always been close growing up. Like there's a sister situated between us in the age gap, so I didn't connect as much with her as I did with Jacob, because she wouldn't be as interested in the same things.
She didn't want to play Risk or Axis and Allies and things like that. So he was like, "Hey, Jacob,
she didn't want to play outside and get dirty and mess around or whatever." So that whole connection there got stronger when we got into anime, because we would pass these things back and forth. But then for something like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, for instance, the whole idea of a dual set of main characters going on a journey together and experiencing the struggle of what it means to go through this. There's so much that's relatable about FMAB.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that it was two brothers, I mean, that helped too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But then it's also like got all these like emotionally just heavy episodes, emotionally like emotional climaxes and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, after episode 4, so
like by that time I was cheering on actually in the story. And I feel like I could have been ready for the reaction channel like right then and there. Like
like then that would have been really interesting for all you guys, because then you could have seen just how much our taste and preferences in stories changed over the years.
A lot.
But okay, now back to Bleach though. So there was another thing that was
killing me.
Yeah, I know.
Like, let's move on.
yeah. You're like, let's get on the other stuff. But one of the other things that show did is it actually made me ship a character for the first time, like two characters, right? And of course, nothing ever happened with it, which was very unfortunate. But like, I actually searched out like a Bleach Ichiruki AMV with like an old Skillet song, and everything, oh yeah, and I still listen to that AMV sometimes because it's just. Like, even going back now, it's so weird how much nostalgia can be wrapped up in one thing. Like it just blew my mind. And so yeah, that was the other part that Bleach played in my pubertizing. And finally a Bleach podcast.
No, I'm here trying to be like, can we segue? Like, can we not?
But it's just one of those things where I feel like that if falling in love with stories is like falling in love with a person, right? And there comes a point where, mistakes and problems aside, they still hold a special place in your heart. And
I'm all like, I'm just getting a divorce.
Like, I want to forget that ever happened. It was a mistake.
Move on. Yeah. Let's be done.
Yeah.
Captain Flint 1003, thank you so much for the resubscription with Twitch Prime.
Yes.
2 months. Yeah, we got to figure out this badge thing so we can get that. This is what it's going.
Yeah.
No, Kill, this is what we came for. The humiliation, the embarrassment. All right, well, then great. There you go.
It was actually really funny because when our cousin got married, and we got them, we were their, sort of dealer for getting them into anime and stuff. Of course, never till the end, because the end would have been furious.
Right.
But we got them into Bleach, and at one point when when it's like, okay, all of us meeting together, and the cousin's about to get married, and it's sort of like us roasting him, and I was like, oh, I know something that will just, it'll get you so good. And he's like, what? And I just say, Bleach. And then he just gets beet red, and he's just, oh my God, not talk about that, please. Because he's in sort of the same boat as Caleb. But yeah.
Yep. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So now that we are basically, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit more. There's a couple things we didn't get to mention, but specifically with anime, it's in some ways ruined us for a lot of other types of storytelling.
Right. Because the sort of boundless just further horizons that anime has compared to live action, even though a lot of the times it gets stuck in the trappings of the cliches and the tropes and things like that.
Totally.
There's just it feels like you're constantly going into a whole new world, even if it's just another high school.
Yeah, a lot of times we'll just be like, oh, there's that classic high school building.
Yep,
Here
there
we go.
Yep.
I think that was actually us in the first episode of Hajime no Ippo. We were just like, this is, you said, you're like, oh, this is familiar.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And it kind of, it's kind of something that it feels good to. Oh, wait, Daiki has just gifted a tier 1 sub to Marciano.
Awesome.
Thanks, Daiki. That's really nice of you.
Yeah.
So now that we're watching, I would say, anime that we couldn't even imagine ourselves watching back in 2009, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Well, or like Violet Evergarden.
Violet Evergarden, something that's a much more of an artistic piece.
Yep.
And has fantastic story and emotion behind it. But, something where we're enjoying as much the creative effort that went into making it as much as we are with the story. Now, maybe in some ways we're still biased to always look after the story things because, again, we're not in the area of expertise to understand fully what goes on in the production side of things. And
I may have watched Shirobako, but that only can take you so far.
That's the one about making an anime, right? Yeah. Okay, so and with all the anime that we've watched since then, like we've told you the story of how Jacob convinced me to watch Toradora.
Oh yeah,
very begrudgingly.
But it's the dad that convinced Caleb.
Yeah, exactly. So all this being said, I feel like if we can hone in on something here before we kind of get into the Q&A a little bit, there's something about allowing yourself to be free to express your emotions as you feel them. Now, I'm not trying to get on a soapbox here and say this is something that the world needs to hear. But for me specifically, when I allowed myself with anime, I think anime really made it possible. I think Avatar: The Last Airbender, the reason why it's so special to me is because it was probably the rock that broke the hole in the dam, so to speak.
Yep. The foundation upon which all else was built.
Yeah, exactly. And those moments with like Iroh and Zuko reuniting, the leaves from the vine, so much. And with the channel and stuff, I feel like I can actually be myself. There's a weird thing nowadays where people are now starting to find it to be socially acceptable to be into anime.
Right.
I can talk with strangers, total strangers at Ultimate Frisbee now. In some ways, I couldn't even do this 2 years ago. People would go like, huh? What's that? Like, straight up, they go, what is the anime? And these aren't like old people. These are peers and stuff. They would be like, huh? What? But it's now a thing where I can talk about it as almost a piece of art, as an artistic medium, and people will go, whoa, that actually affected you that deeply. And then more so recently when we're more comfortable talking about our channel and stuff, people are like, oh, wow, they're like, you really enjoy this stuff, right? And it's like, yeah, we do. And it's weird. I would say it's weird because in some ways there's a lot of creative, not creative, but a lot of expression that I feel like we miss out on as people because we don't want to share our passions. We don't really want to reveal all that to people. And I don't know, it just...
It's a level of vulnerability that can be scary. And what you said about, not wanting to get on a soapbox, I would say that, no, we should get on a soapbox because this is take that with a grain of salt, but the idea is that I've seen so many times where people will feel ashamed to enjoy something. Yeah. And that I feel like that's a horrible place to be in because I remember when I was there and I know what it's like to be on the other side, and it's wonderful to be able to experience such amazing things with these stories, to go into these worlds and get to know these characters and stuff and to be able to find something new about yourself that you might not have been willing to accept before. Right?
Yeah, totally.
And that is something that should be encouraged. It should be fostered like that. Oh, man. Like, a lot of times I feel like with, the way our schools and stuff are set up, it's a very, calculating concrete right-wrong answers kind of a thing like that. Sort of that side. I don't know whether it's the left or right
that would be
side
kind
of the brain.
The left brain.
Okay, yeah. Is what sort of gets developed and things like the right brain, especially with like guys and stuff, it will be either not developed or actively suppressed.
Yeah.
And
this is something that, you know, has variations of magnitude across the spectrum. You see guys that are totally in tune with their emotions and willing to creatively, you know, express themselves in all kinds of different ways. I love talking with guys who are like, they're like, you know, they'll ask you, hey, what do you do? And I try to ask them, instead of what do you do, like, what is something that occupies your passion at this time? And they'll be like, oh, I recently really got into woodworking. And like, that sounds like a really manly thing to do, right?
Yeah.
But they're like woodcrafting like these little models and things that are like, you know, little pieces of art and stuff. There's nothing functional about it at all.
Right.
This isn't like I'm gonna go outside and build a shed. This is like this is like I am wanting to make art. They're like, oh, I recently got into oil painting, or I recently, you know, got into writing poetry. And like I remember multiple times like being on the receiving end and the giving end of guys who were willing to express that, and those people ended up being like some of the most influential people in my life.
Yeah.
And when I think about the combination of them being in those strategic times and places and anime, I feel like anime was there when they couldn't be, because anime was easily accessible. Like, you guys realize how easily accessible anime is now comparatively to 10 years ago?
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Like, it's so cool. So now we basically get like spoiled almost by being able to, and again, listen to us, we're not old anime fans. We don't really know what we're talking about here with regards to like how it used to be or back in my day. But like, now that we have all this and stuff, I can just be like, oh, I'm gonna go on Netflix and just you know, watch an anime.
Like, I almost feel like anime is quickly becoming sort of like the book replacement, because since not completely, books will always have that special place, because it actively directly engages the imagination of the audience, right? But with anime, it directly engages the imagination of the creators, right? You know, because they're not limited by you know, what they can like actually build a set for and things like that.
Totally.
And I feel like in the fact that it's so easily accessible, like in order to find out about a good book and like get a good book and stuff, that's a much more intensive process. I mean, it's gotten easier now with like ebooks and things like that.
And it's really affordable now to buy books because of, you know, sites like Amazon.
Right. But it's still like, it is still so much easier to just, you know, find an anime and see what kind of world someone dreamed up. And that was sort of a tangent, but on the subject of what you were talking about with emotional vulnerability,
and expressing
and the importance of that, one of the books that really affected me deeply, again during that pubertizing stage, I went into a British lit class, you know, and you know, we talked about Lord of the Rings and stuff, and it was great, but there was this book that I got introduced to called Man Alive by G.K. Chesterton. All one word, M-A-N-A-L-I-V-E.
It's like Man Alive, you know?
Yeah, exactly, right? yeah, your mana circuits are live.
Yes.
And
it's, you know,
very short book, like 100 pages maybe, and like easy pages, like you know, type 14 font, you know, like this is something you could read in an afternoon, easy. And it was about this guy. It was a very strange guy, and you could tell because of what the teacher had sort of told us that he was based off of the author. Because the author,
it was a self-insert.
Right. But the author, this G.K. Chesterton guy, he was a bit before Tolkien and Lewis and them, but he would go around with a top hat, a cape, a sword cane, and basically just he was like this like 6'5" guy or 6'3", you know, like big guy that would go around and just do stuff, and his head would totally be in the clouds. There were apparently times where he would get lost, and he would just be walking, and then he'd be like, I don't know where I am, I don't know what time it is, I don't know where I'm supposed to be. So he would send a telegram, like back, like it's not as easy as a text message, but he would send a telegram to his wife saying, I'm here, where am I supposed to be? And like, you know, and stuff like that. Like, and she would usually just be like, home, you know, or something like that. It'd be like, oh, okay, you know. And I just related to that so much. Like, I absolutely loved it. And here the story is about this, you know, this weird guy, right?
Yeah, that Don Quixote kind of
right, exactly.
Yeah,
but he's very, very passionate.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes to this town where everyone's just sort of going about their daily life. Mm-hmm. And just by being there, just by being himself, by being passionate and loving life, he completely turns the whole town upside down. Right? And there are some people that think he's crazy, he's an absolute madman, because he kind of is.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that say, no, he's the first sane person I've ever met.
Right.
You know, I feel like I've suddenly woken up and I now and see life differently. I'm finally a man alive, you know, or a woman alive in a lot of other cases. But, and that book was just one of those ones where, and I didn't even really realize it at the time, but it was the idea that, you know, that little light inside of you, that passion that you have, that spark, that fire, people need to see that.
Yeah.
That just the simplest things can absolutely change their life. And, you know, I didn't really attribute it to much. Like, I wasn't consciously thinking of it at that level, but it was sort of like a thing of, I like this book. This is cool. I'm gonna...
This vibes.
This vibes with me. I'm gonna embrace my weirdness and all that stuff, you know.
Embracing weirdness, I think that's huge. Like I'm just gonna piggyback on you right here with this. Like, embracing your weirdness, like, in a lot of ways, anime is perfect for that. The community is all about embracing your weirdness.
Because anime is weird. Like, let's be real.
Anime is super weird.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
but it's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. But, like, there's almost, like, levels of weirdness. And, like, in some ways, it's fun to make fun of the different levels of weirdness.
Oh, yeah.
But also, in the end, like, we're all kind of in the same boat with regards to that. So
we're all being weird together.
Yeah, and we're all, like, spiraling downwards in our weirdness as well.
We're spiraling up through the heavens.
Yes, to pierce them all and go beyond. So, yeah, like, so that all being said, like, I would love to hear from a lot of you. What are some stories, what are some anime, what are some emotional high moments, you know, no spoilers, please, like, with regards to the emotional high moments, so maybe, like, in
how
some
it
of the series
affected
that
you,
we've
not
watched.
what the show did to affect you.
Yes,
you know?
exactly, yeah, not the content itself, so that we can kind of vicariously share some of that with you guys, because that would be really, really cool to know about. And I mean, in some ways, that's also good for recommendations, because if you're, you know, able to share it without spoiling it and stuff,
then what better way to get people interested?
What better way?
Us or the people in chat, right?
Yeah. Daigo696 says, "Guys, please watch a Yu Yu Hakusho. It's Bleach done right, and it's written by Togashi, the precursor to his Hunter x Hunter." Oh yeah,
that is very much on our radar.
We have a very good section of people, particularly one person in our Discord that is
will not
constantly shilling Yu Yu Hakusho. So we are very, very aware of that. Oh,
Little
Little Duck, today is my birthday. I was hoping you guys could give some tips on what to do if you feel like you're losing your passion for something. Happy birthday, first of all. Thank you so much for watching this. I totally know what it's like when you feel like you're losing your passion for something. I do feel like you need help. So finding some kind of trick to just kind of stimulate passion in and of itself, not for something, because I feel like you and I can both get too fixated on what our passion needs to be, like, applied to,
right?
And not actually, like, getting in love with passion itself. So if there's anime that just stimulates your passion, like, do that. I know we would watch, like, you know, our AMV list or whatever way back in the day of our you know, favorite Battle Shonen or whatever.
Right. Basically just the
or
different
Avatar:
ways
The
that
Last
they could just sync
Airbender,
it up with
basically.
Bleach. Oh yeah, or Airbender.
Yeah, and then also like, talk about it and listen to yourself talk about it, and then anytime you also, like, realize that you're in the passionate state, you've caught on to it a little bit, like, write that down and save it. Like, really save it. And also, if you can physically write it down, it does a lot more for your brain when you physically write it down. Like, you exert more effort, and it takes more.
Your muscles are actually going through the motions of writing out that exact thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, one thing I would say, and it's not really an answer to your question, but it's just a bit of encouragement. Every high will have a low.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and the more passionate you can get about something, that means the more of a low you can have when you don't feel that thing, right? You know, the absence can just be awful, right? Hence the void whenever we finish a show that, you know, we love and we're trying to seek something else that'll give us that same hit, right?
Right.
So don't worry about it. You know, return to what it was that made you passionate about it if you can, and if you can't, just realize that, you know, it won't necessarily last. Like, yeah. So, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But it'll get better.
It'll get better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Lunar.
Oh, Good Will Hunting. Yes.
Good Will Hunting is amazing.
Great one.
That'll get you in the feels.
Yep.
Among your friend circle, which is the most popular anime/manga and any of those anime manga you haven't watched yet? I don't know.
Yeah,
Among our friend circle, it's, if anything, we've kind of surpassed a couple of our friend circles.
Yes, there
it's not really friend circles. It's more like specific friends now that are still ahead of us in regards to anime.
Like, it feels kind of now like we are the center of the anime friend circle for a lot of other people, and then we'll sort of like be like, okay, here's something that you need to watch, and sort of like try and get them into things.
Yeah, we've become the shilling people in our friend circle, but there are a lot of people that are like really into manga that I'm connected with via like different friend circles and stuff that will be like, oh, stay on the lookout for that one, I keep forgetting what it's called, but it's coming out apparently in like January. Promise Neverland. Yes, like people who kind of give me the great, like, no spoiler, just like, oh, that's what you like, you should check out this. But I would say primarily it's things like Bacano getting like recommended to us. Like, we wouldn't have stumbled upon Bacano without help, you know.
Yep. And I will stop at nothing to make sure that A Silent Voice is that for my immediate friends.
Yeah, but I don't know about anime manga we haven't watched yet. By the way, guys, I wanted to get into RWBY because everyone I know is into it, from friends to you guys and other YouTubers I see. Can you please, without any spoilers, summarize what makes the series amazing? P.S. Heard Season 4 and Season 5 fell a little, and Season 6 is picking up the series again. And then again, I haven't seen anything, so I don't know. By the way, please watch the Violet Evergarden OVA, aka Episode 14, and just so you know, in 2020, it's getting a movie with its own plot. Well, great. Thank you for all the info there. That's awesome. The main reason why I would say you get into RWBY is because it's something where I feel like I'm directly supporting something that is not only changing the industry in a lot of ways, it's making anime as a creative production feel more like open to everyone.
Right.
So I feel like in the beginning, I got into it because it was Rooster Teeth, and I wanted to support Rooster Teeth and Monty for sure. But over time, what I realized is that it's a bunch of people that wanted to make a fantasy story. And there's not a lot about it that's revolutionary outside of maybe the fight choreography and a few specific scenes.
And the music.
And the music is really good for, you know, for what it is. But I have a nostalgic thing for it as well, because it's a web series from some people out of Texas that you get to watch grow. So you're constantly not only thinking about the potential of where it can go, you're also getting kind of teased into the world and stuff that's really fun. But yeah, I think that if you go into it expecting something amazing, you might be disappointed. But if you just want a fun romp story that's kind of quirky and goofy and then has some like really intense stuff here and there, yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
The main thing I think that has happened, like you said, with the Season 4 and Season 5 thing, is that it got so popular. Like, it got so popular that people who are totally justified in their critiques went and realized, oh my god, there are actually a lot of problems with this story. We're going to go back and point them all out to people as if it's like some great big surprise.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, yeah, it always had those problems. I would love someone to do a video series on look at all the improvements RWBY has had over time.
Right, exactly.
And a lot of the critiques are super validated. It's just a thing of like, are those critiques big enough to take you out of the enjoyment of the series? I don't know.
Yeah.
Go give it a shot. It's super short, so it's not like you're going to invest a ton of time to actually watch it.
It's getting longer, but like where I was at when I started it, I was kind of watching it just because like, oh, hey, it's got some cool action. It's got a dope opening. You know,
it's got some crazy weapon ideas.
Yeah, it's got some crazy weapon ideas, but it was very much like a casual watch. I was just like, oh yeah, this will be something fun. You know, the 5-8 minute episodes. You know, like it would just be like, oh yeah, I'll watch that. Why not?
Why
right?
not?
And it ended up being sort of like this, like, to put it in like romance story terms, it's like that love that you sort of realize that was there all along. You know,
right?
And the more time you spend with it, you're just like, oh yeah, this is pretty great, and you get to see it. You know, like you said, grow over time, and that. So don't go into it expecting it to be some masterpiece. Go into it just to have fun and enjoy it, and it will surprise you.
Yeah.
You know, there will be points where it will surprise you. It still has its issues.
Yeah.
But
Atomics saying, Ghost in the Shell, for me personally, I was able to vicariously live my passion through the main character's day-to-day life. Cool.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
One Piece was my favorite story of all time because I felt like I became friends with the characters in it and felt a real emotional connection with them. Now my favorite is Hunter x Hunter. By the way, can't wait until y'all start One Piece. It won't disappoint. Awesome. Star Platinum. Yeah. Everyone talking about emotions like it's only sadness. Happiness is an emotion. And in a case where a show does many different emotional scenes in a single episode, I have to recommend Hinamatsuri. Okay. We have heard a lot about it.
Cool. And that did a lot to make me be even more interested in watching it.
For sure. Sagacious last, finding that my babysitter also has a passion for anime may or not be my fault. Oh, baby sister, gotcha.
Yeah.
Has been so good for her. She is 15, has been suffering from anxiety, and she's frequent panic attacks and insomnia. We started watching anime together, and now she and I have something to enjoy together when she can't sleep. That's awesome. That's so adorable and wholesome. That's so good. Yeah. The delay in comments in your topic killed the timing, but I was trying to make time to high with you talking about that one person who shills Yu Yu Hakusho all the time.
Yeah. Oh, we got that. We got that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think Your Lie in April really changed me. I always thought it wasn't. I thought it wasn't that emotional, and I was a bit depressed when I watched it. And boy, I was wrong with that emotional part. That's a great one for that. In regards to emotional impact for me, more recently I broke down sobbing after watching a short anime by Makoto Shinkai called Her and Her Cat. I'm seriously considering adopting a cat now because of it.
Okay,
little Doug,
cool.
that's awesome.
I didn't know that was something that you'd done.
I don't either. One Piece for me personally, wax casual. It created an incredible world to get lost, and the lore and history within the OP world was rich. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Lots of good recommendations here. It's cool seeing ones that we haven't seen, especially.
Yeah.
Oh, so many.
I watched A Silent Voice the other day because of what SOS said on their podcast a week or two ago. I loved it.
Though the ending bothered me because they weren't explicit about a certain two people getting together.
Yeah. But yeah, I know. But it was amazing.
Yeah. I heard Silver Spoon is pretty good. Yeah, that's the person that did FMA, right?
Yep. It's fantastic. Very wholesome. Just like it's one of those ones that the way my friend described it to me, because he was the one who got me into it, is he was like, after watching this, I want to go out and be productive and really like do something with my life and stuff. And I was like, okay, cool.
That's a very unique response.
Yeah, so it was something that I used very specifically when I was feeling kind of down. I would watch one episode. I wouldn't watch much because I wanted to savor it and stuff, just to get that feeling. And it's really good.
That's awesome. Vraco's saying the first anime that made me cry was Anohana, and it totally destroyed me. I finished it one day, but didn't give much thought into it afterwards back then. However, a few weeks ago, a close relative of mine died, and I ended up watching it again one night. I think it was the night where I shed the most tears in my life.
Yeah. Oh man, I
totally feel you with anime that.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the news that Adi Shankar, is executive producer of Castlevania, considers doing a decent adaptation of Berserk? His quote, "Berserk needs to come back. If someone reputable gets me the rights, I'll bring it back in that 2D hand-drawn vibe and make it closer to the manga because the hyper-detailed beauty of Kentaro Miura's artwork in the manga is the true masterpiece." Wait a minute. Really? Hold on. You can't, Gabriel Braga, you can't just toy with us here.
Because I haven't seen Castlevania, but I've seen the art pieces from Castlevania.
And it's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's pretty good.
It's not bad.
So if that's serious,
whoa. Holy crap.
Yeah, holy crap. That's special.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I saw someone mention Korra.
Oh, yeah.
I love talking about Korra because it's a very yeah, there we go. Okay. I haven't heard you two guys talk much about Korra. Did you like it overall? Disappointed, underrated, overrated, good sequel to Avatar: Last Airbender. Okay. So just to summarize it like a TLDR, I liked Korra so much it got me into Tumblr. Like, that is my, like, one-word response. Like, I liked Korra so much, it got me into Tumblr.
That was Attack on Titan for me.
Yeah. I became a part of the fandom officially because of Legend of Korra. So, the thing with Korra was I loved Avatar The Last Airbender so much, watched it like 10 times before Korra even came out. So within 3 years, I watched Avatar The Last Airbender about 10 times. The thing is Korra had so much potential, right? You go into it with all this hype, and it's like, oh, it's gonna be amazing. They have the animation studio that was born out of the guy that animated the 3D and 2D blended finale. You know, with the airships that were 3D,
and all the pillars and everything.
It's like that finale of Avatar: The Last Airbender is a monument to animation, just beauty. There's little things where you can notice the time that it was made in there, but it's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Then Studio Mir was founded out of that guy's creative works. They decide we're gonna do Korra.
Brian Konietzko and Michael DiMartino.
Michael DiMartino, thank you.
Bryke.
Bryke. Yeah, Bryke decides that they're going to write the entire thing themselves. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, it's just going to be a spin-off miniseries, 12 episodes.
Yep.
You know, we'll just do it, and it'll be over, and we'll get a new Avatar. I'm like, oh my God, yes. And it's a female Avatar? Yes, please. Like, everything about this, I'm on board. Like, and we're doing a big enough time jump that we're not just kind of sequel baiting with, like, you know, ooh, all your nostalgia characters will be back. It's like, no, these are going to be new characters. The world is going to change. Yeah, yeah, everything there. So I was really hyped going into it. The first season had so much it did right. So much it did right. And the ending
was fine for a standalone.
The ending was fine if they stopped there.
Right.
If they stopped there, I would have loved to see Korra have consequences. You guys know what consequences I'm talking about. Actually carry over into future stories and stuff. But when you're in the middle of it and you're watching it and stuff, there were so much good things. The Out of the Past episode and the When Extremes Meet episode 8 and 9.
Oh, we watched those so many times. Was
a high of Legend of Korra.
Just over and over again. And,
so good.
And really, from When Extremes Meet onward, like, it was just...
It was popping. Now, there was a huge gap in time between Korra Season 1 and Season 2. They shouldn't have made Korra Season 2, but Nickelodeon was like, we want another one. And I don't know if they had the creative authority to say no. I think they did, but they were like, if we do this, we need more time. We need, all the effort to do this. We'll need more episodes. And they're like, okay, sure. And the thing is that when they did it, they had production issues, a whole lot of them.
Yes.
And it was very painful to watch Korra Season 2 week to week. Going through,
just getting dragged through the mud,
especially from episode 3 to episode I think 6 or 7. It was really painful.
Yeah,
the writing was jumbled all over the place. Korra went from a 9 out of 10 show to a 6 out of 10 show to 5 out of 10 show. At there, but when they did the beginnings episode, they got Studio Mir back.
Yeah.
It was like this redemption arc for Korra. The writing started to get a little bit better. Not a lot better, but a little bit better. They dropped the big lore stuff on it, which, it had some things that were kind of pseudo-retcon, but it wasn't that big of a deal back then. And then the finale of Book 2 felt like the finale to the everything. And, plot holes aside and all that, we were like, okay, that's awesome. And then they're like, oh, and now we want Season 3 and Season 4. And we as the fandom were like, Nickelodeon, can you make up your mind? Well, I'm still super pissed off at Nickelodeon for not only doing that, but also putting Book 2's final 4 episodes online, forcing it to the Friday night death slot for TV.
Yep. They're just changing things all the time. It's like, do you even want this show to succeed?
Yeah, it's like they didn't, even though they kept asking for more. And so Nickelodeon didn't know what it wanted. And the thing is that I can't blame the creators of the show for the problems and like most of the problems with Korra.
They did the best with what they had.
They did the best with what they had. And then when book 3 came out and book 4 came out, I loved them. They were really good. They were
book 3 especially.
Book 3 surpassed book 1 in the broader context, definitely, and also in the highs of it. Book 4, I'd say, struggled in a lot of areas in the beginning. I was actually one of the first people in the fandom ever. I actually have a post. I'm very proud of this. I predicted the book 4 ending, the book 4 season title, the minute they announced what book 3's title was. And there's like a post out there in Tumblr somewhere being like,
oh yeah,
yeah, guys, I predicted this like the day they announced.
What was it? As soon as the trailer for book 2 went out, you predicted
Dark Avatar
and all that,
and you know, basically separating the Avatar spirit from the Avatar, and
they hadn't even really gone that much into that as a thing, you know.
Yeah, but anyways, I was so like in the fandom that I couldn't see a lot of the faults with it as well. So now I look back on it, and Legend of Korra is something that I love to defend because a lot of people don't know what was going on in the background when this was coming out. So if you judge each season individually and you don't really look at the problems with the whole thing as a cohesive narrative, it's a lot easier to give Korra a pass. So yeah.
And
it's still nowhere near as good as Avatar: The Last Airbender.
But there's still a ton of good things they did with that. Like I remember in book 1, because, you know, at this point, whole new characters, whole new story. And the emotional high points that they were able to have
in book 1,
the intensity and everything, even with all that time they wasted on pro-bending.
Pro-bending, yeah.
Like, even with all that, like, the part where they run away and the one person, you know, makes the decision, right? And then how that goes, like... Even though this is a character that we've hardly seen, you know, they're completely new because this is a new series and everything. But oh boy, that was a gut punch.
Yeah, and then they had the whole backstory bit, which, you know, say what you will about Amon and the ending and all that. That backstory is a gut punch of the highest degree. Talk about, you know, when they talk about Deus Ex Machina, it's usually a plot device. It's not a character backstory. But in some ways, I feel like that's the best way to do a Deus Ex Machina character backstory that's so good that you turn on a dime immediately on two characters. You immediately go from loving Amon and hating Tarlok to switching to hating Amon and loving Tarlok.
Right. Even though it's like a whole different facet that you're seeing of Amon, which is something that's very fitting considering what had been happening in the story and different other reveals about him at that time. And like that whole ending, that whole ending bit, right? You know what I'm talking about. There's a video out there where it cuts from that to Michael Scott when Toby comes back and he's just, no, God, no, God, please, no. And it was so perfect. And then after the thing that happens, they then cut to the Office intro music, and it was a great way to basically put a salve on the emotions of that scene with comedy.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So good.
Also, Korra went and made the show actually dark for like multiple different things. Avatar's darkest thing, I think it went into
was episode 8 of season 3.
Was episode 8 of season 3 with the stuff,
yeah.
And then the Bossing Say arc,
right?
With the there is no
war
really in the walls, and that was more mature rather than dark. But Korra gets into some heavy stuff, especially with their whole dealing with the PTSD elements in book 4, which I thought that for a kids network to produce that, they did it justice, even though I would say a lot of the fans wish they would have gone more on specific areas or what have you. So anyways.
What you said, Gooey, like, it's one of those things where you'll be looking at these scenes and you're like, wow, I'm very surprised that Nick...
Yeah, there's SpongeBob. When this was presented, there were SpongeBob ads popping up.
Well, it's like, you know...
crazy stuff going on. And they'd be like, tune in after this for SpongeBob. You know, and it's just like, right happening there. You have like bodies contorting and getting like, you know, like all kinds of crazy stuff. You have people being strangulated with elemental like, control and stuff. You have you have torture going on. You have what was the double suicide?
Yeah, murder assisted suicide.
Murder assisted suicide. It was just like, holy crap, this is some intense stuff. It was basically like they were like, okay, well, we have to make goofy jokes for the kids,
right?
But we know all the fans are like 18 to 25 years old right now because they've grown up. So let's make this about Korra review.
And then of course there was the whole ending to season 3.
Yeah, actually, that's a thing. Like, that's a thing. I didn't mention that in the whole previous bit about feels that basically helped me and stuff growing up. I watched Korra Book 3 when it came out, so I don't know exactly when that was.
Season 4 was in 2014.
2014?
I think it was 2013.
Yeah, so I was 23. I actually filmed my reaction before I knew that was even a thing for Tumblr, like a few specific, like 5 friends on Tumblr, and I DM'd them my live reaction, just footage of me reacting to the ending, the tear of Book 3, the very ending. And I was a mess. I was an emotional mess. And
do you still have that?
I don't know where the video is now. So I've tried to look for it.
Just go on like Tumblr DMs and like
scroll a million years back down and stuff. So Korra is something that I fully acknowledge the flaws in it, and there are a lot in there, but the emotional storytelling with regards to Korra as a main character, Tenzin as a character, in a lot of ways, also a lot of the villains, I just do a fantastic job with it.
Gooey, thank you. Book 3 really just takes the wind out of you.
Really winded you? Real punch to the gut? Yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I fully encourage you guys to try and find it. Help me find it, because, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, one other thing that I just have to talk about here. This was, like, one of my favorite movies alongside Pride and Prejudice. Serenity.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Serenity, go watch it. Like, you watched... well, okay. I watched Serenity before Firefly, but watch Firefly first.
Yeah.
But Joss Whedon, you know, like, think Avengers 1 dialogue and witty banter and all that stuff before it was cool.
For sure.
You know, with much better characters.
Yeah. Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Squid Ethics, how are you guys liking Hunter x Hunter so far? Be honest. Okay, so I think what you're... Okay, we love Hunter x Hunter. Like, absolutely love Hunter x Hunter. The whole thing with the Welfin deal and stuff... Like Jacob was you were having a little bit of a bad day that day with regards to like IRL stuff happening.
Maybe I don't know.
But the thing is that like it's the pacing of just having a scene be delivered in just a specific way doesn't affect our overall enjoyment of the show.
Because the thing is, my perspective on Hunter x Hunter, because you know some people were like, wait, does Jacob actually like Hunter x Hunter? What it is that Hunter x Hunter is not the kind of story that I would basically have watched on my own time, probably. Just because of like people saying like, oh, the beginning's really slow and, you know, and all that stuff, right? And when I think about my ideal story, like how I would structure it kind of a thing, I would do things differently. But that's fine, right? Because one of the big reasons why I watch stories is to see how other people do things, right? And the fact that Hunter x Hunter does so many things that I would say like, wait, whoa, why are you doing that? That isn't that kind of like a risky decision to make? But it owns them. It so brashly will hold to them, and it will make good on them. You know, on the decisions that it makes, right? There is a rhyme to the reason and all of that stuff, even if it's not something that I necessarily see right away.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel like it's something that I still don't fully understand. I don't fully understand the in the moment choices for how they build up to specific like big kind of climaxes within the story. But the thing is that every single climax of the story is where they're basically saying like, all of that was totally like way more than worth it. Like it was more than worth the wait to get to this point here. It's something that we would have done it faster generally. Like I would say, we're probably of the type of people that don't generally watch longer shows, but like I don't know. I feel like I understand where you guys are coming from with like moments throughout just our whole experience with Hunter x Hunter where it was seeming like we were not liking it. But I think if anything, it just opened us up to a whole new type of storytelling because we were confused about how you can really do long form storytelling with even the discovery based elements and have it still work and have payoff and stuff. So
that is thank you Doge GG. Yeah, like Welfin being introduced and it's like, wait, whoa, who is this new character? Let's get back to the other characters. But then like 20 episodes later, it's like, hey, payoff. Here you go.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel like we also really like about Hunter x Hunter is that it's a character-driven story. But that's something that's also really hard to do when you have so many characters.
And such a complicated plot, because it is character-driven, but with all the things of, like, how they'll go in depth into, like, the powers and, like, how they have to solve these problems within the, like, the laws and everything of the world.
Yeah. And not all the time do we get invested in each character. I think that's part of the thing that's also really hard to do is to have so many characters and really feel like they're worthy of getting, you know, so much development and stuff.
Right. And a lot of times, even if we do end up loving them, it'll just be something where we don't get invested in them right away, right? And then later we'll be like, oh, no, this character's great. You know, they do lots of cool things.
I was not invested in Welfin once he came in. Like when he was brought into the story and he had his whole, like, ambition thing, it kind of made me chuckle inside because I was like, yeah, good luck, buddy. Like,
it's like, okay, this guy's funny, but, you know, like...
Right. And I loved how much he took it seriously more than anything.
That was the best
part. So if anything, like, in some ways, I do kind of, like, you guys saw it in the discussion and stuff, I do kind of disagree with Jacob about how they presented things with Welfin, but I do agree in that Hunter x Hunter really sticks to its own pace, and it doesn't in some ways it doesn't cater itself or pander itself to the audience for the sake of mass enjoyment. And I feel like that's something where, as a newbie anime fan, specifically with regards to longer running shows, you know, I just say be patient with us, I guess.
Oh, one other thing. These are our reactions. So, a lot of times when I say get, like, frustrated with message, right? That's because I am very emotionally invested in what is happening. Right? So, because of that, my reaction when I see something and I'm like, oh, no, just, you know, I'll get very, very involved, right? If I were to say rewatch that episode, I'd probably see what it was that, you know, was actually being done, you know, the intent behind it and everything, but I won't necessarily catch that the first time because I am emotionally compromised.
That's another good point, Doge GG. We were more so criticizing the execution of it, having it be padded out. There's a couple tricks you can do to showcase that a lot of time has passed and the intensity of the emotion. I loved how he lost all his hair and he aged and all of that. Like that was a direct callback to what they did with Nav and everything. And it's like, seeing that in the moment, that's way more powerful than having him, you know, repeat the words and go through it and stuff.
Or that moment where he just ends up saying what he said. Well, yeah, I almost wonder if, like, we're past the point of spoilers for some people that are watching if you haven't seen Hunter x Hunter. But when he says the word and then the response that gets, that was fantastic. Right? It was great.
For sure. Benny Della, and I feel like sometimes you go to focus on the intellectual side of Hunter x Hunter, forget to enjoy the emotional side, particularly Jacob. Like, not everything is a deconstruction. Sometimes the show is just about the hype. I remember during the dodgeball match, Jacob was theorizing about possible tricks to win the match while Gon was doing this Jajenkin for the first time. Caleb was more hyped. It's okay if Jacob wasn't really feeling it. I respect that. I just wonder if maybe he would have. Sorry for the lack of breaks. Some reason they don't show up. Okay, so I get the gist of what you're saying there. I think that on some level, I elevated in my head Hunter x Hunter a little bit more than other shows because I respect the intelligence of it way more than other shows. And that's something that...
Yeah, it banks on it a lot.
Because it banks on it. Like, I feel challenged to follow Hunter x Hunter on an intellectual level, even in any way, so that when we actually go into the discussion and it moves into the intellectual side, I am like, well, maybe there's some way I can figure this out. Whereas with other stories, I feel like, if anyways, the way to, at least on the theory-making side of things, try and predict what it is, I kind of rely on storytelling conventions. I rely on kind of the...
Yeah, and you guys remember what we were like as we were watching Hunter x Hunter and sort of realizing, even though they were like almost beating us over the head with it, that we are not going to do story conventions. Things are not as they seem, you know? Like,
and not everything was a, like you said, a deconstruction. It like had us looking like our first real, I think, deconstruction anime was Madoka Magica.
Yeah, and we hadn't even really watched like magical girl shows before that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It was just like, okay, we're watching this show, cool. Whoa.
But then when we got into the community side of things online and stuff and realized how much of it was a deconstruction, it opened our eyes to how much more of it was so intelligent. And so specifically with Hunter x Hunter, I'm really looking forward to getting into the community side of things with regards to discussion around specific things, certain characters, and really looking at it with kind of, I would say, fresh eyes, because I have the whole story in mind.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
And you know, last week when we did the podcast and we talked about like gateway anime, that is the reason why we said no. Like we would not want someone to have Hunter x Hunter be their first, because I'm sure it would be quite the experience. But like, I feel like there would be so much more that you'd be able to get out of it when you know what is normally done. You know, that way you can appreciate just how different it is. You know.
Did you guys just spoil me for tomorrow's reaction? Tomorrow's reaction on YouTube or tomorrow's reaction on Patreon? I don't know, Trash Show Con.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Let's change the subject and avoid that question entirely. Yeah.
Everyone gets the enjoyment of a show in their own way. Just like Death Note is loved for its genius, it creates an unfair IMO pressure for it to be incredibly intelligent all the time.
Yep.
Totally understand that.
Yeah.
To be fair, you need to have a very high IQ to appreciate Hunter x Hunter, Kappa. Very. Oh my gosh.
Jacob's message should be the notification for any time you guys get a donation or something.
Yes, so that's another thing, Doge GG. I feel like also with Hunter x Hunter, it's one of the shows we feel the most comfortable actually critiquing. We totally critique shows when we feel like they're not up to snuff, or we feel like, not that they're not up to snuff for our standards, but we feel like they're not meeting their own standards as a show. Like, we've seen shows at really high highs.
Hunter x Hunter sets a very high bar.
Yes, it does. Like, you go think back to the York New arc, there was so many high episodes constantly that were like, this show just completely changed. Well, it's like now just a masterpiece, and what is happening?
And just like all the stuff that's been happening in the Chimera Ant arc.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, seriously.
Like,
so
took a while to get there, but holy crap.
Yeah. So in a completely different side of things, but with like MHA, for instance, we were not that nice about the whole battle royale situation thing in the second half of season 3.
Yep.
There are parts where we are not like thinking that the show itself is bad, but that we see where its highs are, and then we just kind of get disappointed when we feel like it's not being consistent with its highs specifically.
Right.
So if we have something where it's just like, guys, you're missing on the fundamentals here, why this was important, totally give us that feedback. And in some ways, like, we'll take an ego hit. Guys, I have copy not steal underneath my belt here. I know how stupid I can be with regards to missing out on things.
Well, let's not get into that, because I still have issues with the fact that he could actually steal men abilities.
Oh, by the way, guys, I really hope you dedicate a podcast episode to Hunter x Hunter when you finish it. I think that's totally reasonable. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you guys going to watch the Hunter x Hunter movies? They're actually pretty good. I haven't heard actually too much positive things about the Hunter x Hunter movies, so we'll see about that.
What I have heard is that they're very creative about how to make them be separated from the actual canon storyline.
I imagine, you'd love having a long discussion with Togashi, getting to know how he thinks. That's a sign of respect.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I've mentioned it probably
five.
Guy. Yeah, I've mentioned it probably 5 times now. I would really love to ask him a lot of questions. Yeah. I still remember how disappointed you guys were when Deku let himself get brainwashed by Shinso in the tournament.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's a tiny little thing, and they ended up being able to use it to amazing effect with Shinso's episode, right?
Well, yeah, but that was more so Shinso's character. But
right,
we were still really upset at okay, MHA.
Right, because they ended the previous episode with him getting brainwashed, and we were just like, really? Come on, Deku's smart. He knows better than that.
Yeah, exactly. Talking as if copy not steal is your biggest failure when magnets exist. Oh, right. See, right. That's the best thing, though, is that there's only a few people that know about the magnets.
Yeah.
Now that... Yeah.
Go watch Made in Abyss and our reactions to that wonderfully wholesome show.
Remy's, I've been missing this comment over and over again. I saw your reaction to Hajime no Ippo episode 1 before you guys were afraid with starting it after Haikyuu because you thought you were going to compare the two. All I want to say is don't be afraid. I, too, started it directly after Haikyuu. The way I would describe it to you guys, as I'm a dad, and both series boys are my babies, and as a father, you should treat your kids equally. But you must acknowledge both kids are really different and are unique in their own way. That is a great way to describe it, because it is very easy to prefer a specific kid. But in your mind, you see how different they are, so you can't say objectively that one is better than the other. You then go, oh, this person really loves sports and they are so passionate about it. This person really loves music and they're really passionate about that. This person's a lot quieter, more introspective, and that and can have better conversations with them or something. So yeah, great stuff.
SXMCS. So I would say that to compare it to the Arya Sansa stuff in season 7 of Game of Thrones would be doing
a disservice to Hunter x Hunter.
It would be doing a major disservice to Hunter x Hunter.
Oh,
because that was like, that was bad. That was bad.
Yeah,
that was like something I would have expected in Arrow. Not Game of Thrones.
They tried to fix it at the end, being like, it was all according to cake. And
but it's like,
no,
yeah,
sure, it was.
On so many levels, no.
Yeah.
But we can laugh about it now.
Yeah, we can laugh about it now.
Yeah.
Movies are filler besides Kurapika backstory. I would love to see Kurapika backstory. That could be kind of interesting.
And I mean, just more Kurapika is great,
Yeah. All that needs to be said about the Hunter x Hunter movies, Togashi didn't write them. Gotcha. Good to know.
Okay.
Made in Abyss, you say? Show has a lot of ups and downs.
It does indeed, yeah.
Sometimes the ups are worse than the downs, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh.
Just moving up.
Just stop.
Have you guys heard of March Comes In Like a Lion? Hey, little bit of an info for you. March Comes In Like a Lion won the poll, actually, for replacing Violet Evergarden.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Expect March Comes In Like a Lion reactions eventually on Fridays.
Right. We are going to be doing the OVA for Violet Evergarden, but there's that.
Yeah.
And I have seen the first core of March Comes In Like a Lion, but it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
I'm guessing you mean Berserk. Berserk is better than Game of Thrones. Fight me. I can't fight you because I haven't read the manga yet.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to, in some ways, agreeing with you.
Well, okay. Here's this was something really funny that I saw somewhere. I think it was on the Discord memes or something. But it was basically saying because Game of Thrones and Berserk are both very similar, right?
Dark fantasy.
Exactly. And now they're both in kind of a competition to see which one's gonna actually end.
Oh, in terms of the source material, not the show.
Not the show, because the show will end eventually. But Game of Thrones versus the manga.
Should we
Berserk.
take I mean, this is not actual bets, but should we take just kind of ego bets? Which do we think will end first, the books of Game of Thrones or the manga of Berserk?
Do I get triple if I say neither will end ever? By the original creators at least.
Wait, so Jacob and I. Okay, guys, let's actually do this now. This will be the ultimate. This is just between Jacob and I. So, Jacob, let's. This is totally off topic here, but let's think about this. Which do you think will end first, the Game of Thrones books or the Berserk manga? Because I don't know. Actually, this is not really fair to us because we don't know where the Berserk manga is in terms of percentage way through the story. That's
true.
Maybe you guys should tell us just percentage-wise. Just percentage-wise.
But then what's the point of betting?
No, because then we'll...
like how much through?
How much through the story
because like with Martin,
is the Berserk manga right now?
Yeah.
Slap bet redemption arc. It is happening. I always see it is happening in Nora's voice.
Yep.
This is happening. Oh, wait, 75%?
Maybe.
Whoa. Okay, what is this? Berserk got like 15 to 20 years left. Game of Thrones because R.R. Martin will die before Miura, thus forcing the books to technically end.
No, that doesn't count. That
doesn't count. If Game of Thrones... I'm sorry, that's a depressing thing to talk about, but if the author passes away, that doesn't count as Game of Thrones ending for us.
Nope.
Game of Thrones will end first, but since the last arc, Miura said he was like 60 to 70% done. Guts was on a boat for 7 years. What do you think about the theory that Peter Baelish is still alive? You mean like as a White Walker?
He is.
Well, yeah, in the books he is. Yeah, Peter Baelish is way smarter in the books.
Well, yeah, because that whole... Yeah. Yeah.
60 to 70%. So pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure neither one is going to end.
Jake is 100% right. None will end. Daigo696, how to send feedback, took a riot on episode 134 reaction for the mods to notice. No, the mods notice. They just send stuff to us, but we don't necessarily bring it up in the videos if we don't think it's important.
Exactly, yeah.
So main thing is just, being like, hey, like, we really think that this is important you bring up, and we have an actual like tab in our Discord that's for us to look at featured YouTube comments and stuff. So
chaos is a ladder.
Chaos is a
and
chaos is a ladder.
And
the fall breaks them.
And Trasho Khan, thanks for rating Spice and Wolf so high. Got me interested, and I thought let's try it out. 2 seasons, 20 light novels later, and can say it was worth it.
It was worth it. Yep.
Yes, it's so good, so good. Still holding it for season 3, but
yeah, for sure. I didn't see that quote from Mira, but damn, I guess it was close. Why is neither will end an option?
Yeah.
Okay, so do we even want to make a bet here?
Why not? My bet is that neither will end.
So,
and this, by the way, is why I hold so. So
both of us could be wrong because there's now 3 options, is what you're saying.
This is true.
So I'm just gonna guess that one of them will end.
Oh, but then then at that point,
No. I'm not gonna guess that one of them will end. I'm gonna guess one of them that will end.
Gotcha.
So if neither of us are right, do we like give Twitch chat something or whatever?
I don't know. If neither of us are right, then
the thing is, it might be like 5 to 10 years before we know which one of us was right.
And
like,
right, yeah, that's very true. And and the only way I would know that I was right. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Is if one of them basically they both either die or basically say, yeah, I'm never finishing that.
Yeah, I could see Miura potentially having that because I've looked at some of the hiatus lengths, and it was like some of them were really long. And someone else was saying on here, Guts was on a boat for 7 years.
Right. Oh, so, I've heard legends about that. Yeah.
So I will throw out there that George R. R. Martin will finish his stuff earlier.
Okay.
But the thing is that the thing
is
then
at that point I could just bet that won't happen.
Wow. Yeah, that's horrible. Oh man. No, Littlefinger, causality is a ladder. Oh.
Well, okay, one of my favorite lines from Game of Thrones is when Baelish is talking to Tywin and he's like, in my experience, chaos is a ladder, and Tywin's just like, no shit, Baelish. Like, he's like, it took you that long. Wow, he must be a real genius to have figured that out.
Yeah, Tywin basically gives him the like, I don't pay you for your advice.
Yeah, he's like,
finger.
He's like, wow, you found that out as well as literally everyone else that's like the lead of any house.
He's like, this is the words of my house that doesn't exist yet, but it will eventually.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So are we actually doing this bet?
I don't know if we really can, because you're betting that neither will end. So
right.
So I have to I have to fight against that, because I reject that idea, and I do think that Martin could finish everything in 10 years.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think he could. Because I think that once you actually put yourself into a corner with his second to last book, which is actually very close to being done, yeah, I could see him ending everything.
Because here's the thing, guys. This is why I love shorter stories so much.
Yeah.
Is because you can have amazing payoffs with the ending, right? And when because I've been there, when you get into that place where you sort of just put the thing off and you let things get too big, and you kind of write yourself into a corner. That's not a great place to be.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Tywin was one of your favorite characters. Charles Dance killed it as Tywin.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Tywin in Game of Thrones show is almost better than Tywin in the actual books.
Yeah, like Tywin is one of the few things where, because
the show did it better.
Yeah, the show did it better, because in some cases I kind of prefer at least the characters in the books,
Yeah, especially the Starks. Especially the Starks. Like,
yeah, with the exception, of course, of Ned Stark, because
Sean Bean.
I mean, what more?
Well, also he had the shortest time being a Stark.
That's true. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. The bet should be how many volumes you guys want Berserk to have after reading volume 40. Should we just do like one up and one under? Like
no, because that's
that's not fun. Nah, we'll not do that. Mira is 52 years old.
Martin is 70.
Oh, so Mira has more chances of finishing.
I love how we're basically saying the real thing you have to consider is which one is going to die first.
That's so horrible.
That's awful.
No.
No.
Yeah. They both will end in 10 years, but Hunter x Hunter still goes on.
Oh yeah, we could throw Hunter x Hunter into this mix.
Well, no, Hunter x Hunter will never probably end, based on kind of the way that people have told me stuff about it. Basically that, Togashi wants his world to just constantly go on.
Right. And right, exactly. The whole point is that it doesn't need to have an ending.
Yeah. Yeah. No. In that respect, that's, something that I will kind of rate Hunter x Hunter more on the arcs rather than the actual overall story, because I think that those actually have satisfying endings.
And the way Togashi does it is quite incredible. Like, because I mean, how we were when this channel started out. We were very suspicious of the idea of a story that didn't have an ending and that goes for a long time. And Hunter x Hunter is the main one, really, that's changed that. JoJo's is also up there, and yes,
JoJo's is up there. Yes, JoJo's is just whack in a lot of
Araki
ways.
Wins. JoJo never has to end, and Araki is an immortal vampire.
That's it. End the stream. There we go. Araki wins everything. Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. Okay, so. Sorry, I have to end the stream on this. Really? But before that, Miku8815, thank you so much for the follow. Glad to have you here. Says, to go back to the question you skipped above, how is your progress in No Nut November? Hey,
hard fail.
I don't participate in dumb Reddit memes. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
What about the prequels?
I recently, like 6 months ago, maybe 9 months ago, joined Reddit specifically for prequel memes. So there's a Semblance of Sanity _ YT account out there that makes prequel meme comments and stuff. Yeah.
Even Araki will eventually run out of music references.
Yep, that's true. Well, JoJo has the part of cheating, so it doesn't really need to end. Yeah, it's kind of like Doctor Who in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, all right, guys.
Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, this has been a great podcast. Thank you so much for chilling with us here.
Reminiscing about old days.
Thank you for all the questions and stuff.
Yep.
Yes, Parasite is on our radar for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we've been having a good week. Looking forward to a lot more stuff here. We've got Thanksgiving coming up. Everything's going to, stay the same and stuff. So there are no holiday breaks for SOS and stuff. But we cleverly situated at least the streams part of things to try and missing the holidays. We still haven't figured out what we're gonna do
for Christmas
because that is technically a Berserk manga reaction day,
which means that Christmas Eve is the podcast, which will be interesting.
No, we can get away with that probably.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, we not doing anything with extended family on Christmas Eve. No.
We can sneak something in maybe.
Yeah. We'll figure something out.
Yeah. Someone's found the Reddit account.
Oh really?
I think I have like 800 karma or something in there. I don't know. Something. Not a lot, but I uploaded a couple memes.
Yeah, and that Hunter x Hunter 135 is going to be going up tomorrow. We should probably watch that. Yeah. Because we haven't seen it yet. Totally. Not at all.
All right, guys. Love you all so much. Thank you for chilling with us. See you tomorrow for the Berserk manga reactions. 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all tomorrow.
Yep.